Hi, I'm Brian Pelletier. I'm owner and chief chocolatier of Kakao Chocolate. We're so excited to be partnering with the Big O. It's so much fun to work with these guys. They've got a great product. It's all natural, just like everything in our chocolate shop. We've been making some wonderful ginger liqueur truffles with their product that have just been so popular with our customers. We have them at both of our shops here at 7272 Manchester and at 2301 South Jefferson in St. Louis. Really great stuff. Love you to come down and try those truffles with the Big O in it. Really nice ginger liqueur dipped in extra dark chocolate with a little bit of candied ginger on top. And we've got a lot of other stuff for you to try too. So please come and join us.
Today we have chocolatiere
Jenny Bezzetta,
and she's going to show us a little bit how to make these really beautiful truffles made with the Big O ginger liqueur. Jenny?
Yeah,
where do we start?
So what we start with, there's two different types of ganache. Typically what we make here is a cream ganache, but today I want to do a butter ganache, primarily because then I can add a little bit more of the Big O. I like the flavor and I want that to shine through the ganache. So you start with butter that's been microwaved at about half power for a minute, and you want to get it to an opaque consistency and look. So it's about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And then from there you add the chocolate, the tempered chocolate, and then the best stuff, the Big O. Slab it out to make the ganache and let it set for about an hour, and then it can be cut and dipped, and then consumed.
Super. This is really beautifully creamy.
Very creamy.
Once you microwave it, you really do want to whip it with a whisk. Not whip it, but stir it very well to make sure it's beautifully creamed.
So basically, in terms of this butter ganache, when you work with dark chocolate, you want it to be in a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 parts chocolate to 1 part liquid. So in this combination, the butter would be part of the liquid, the Big O would be part of the liquid. So I have about maybe 230 grams of butter to about 70 grams of the Big O. And then we'll use 500 to 600 grams of chocolate, combine that to make the ganache.
Now the ratios are really important, right? You can't just fudge on some things.
Right.
No pun intended. But so you have to be very precise in terms of the measurements, the weights of what you're using.
Right.
So that's probably why my ganache is not quite so beautiful as
yours. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet.
So the next step then is to add the chocolate to this?
Yes, we'll add the chocolate and then we'll add the liqueur. So the chocolate is a little thick, but you want to use, this is actually bittersweet chocolate, our 72% blend. And you want to add that tempered chocolate to the butter that is melted. So now I'm going to add 500 grams of chocolate. It's getting a little thick, but properly tempered chocolate, oh geez, it is really thick. Properly tempered bittersweet should have a bit more fluidity. This has been tempering in the machine for a little while. But when it sets up, tempered chocolate should have the right sheen. It shouldn't be like a mirror, but you should be able to see things within the chocolate, and it should have the right snap as well. So now I'm just incorporating the dark chocolate, and I need to add a little bit more, so I add it in just small portion.
That's luscious looking. Gee whiz.
A little bit more.
I love chocolate.
I can tell, Bill.
I just love chocolate. I mean, who doesn't? Really, who
I
doesn't
don't know.
love chocolate? Well, I do know some people who don't like chocolate. I don't trust them.
But they like beer? And the Big O, I would hope?
They do like the Big O, I have to admit that.
All right, so we have now our 500 grams. So we're keeping with that 2-to-1, 2 parts chocolate to 1 part liquid ratio. And then adding the best part, the Big O. It's about 70 grams in this batch, but we're gonna do it to taste.
We're gonna taste that, aren't we?
So the butter ganache, at first, it's gonna look like it's, like oil and water. It looks like it's not gonna incorporate, and then it's gonna get really smooth, and that's where you want it. And now we need to do a quick taste test to see if the infusions are where they should be, if we have enough of the liqueur.
I love this part. It's my favorite.
You'd like to try?
I hardly wait for you to say this. Oh, that's good. But a little bit more maybe. What do you think?
You can grab the bottle?
I'll be happy to.
Thank you. We could add maybe another 10 grams.
Okay,
Thank
I'll
you.
let you do that because
You
quite
sure?
honestly, I don't trust myself.
10 or so.
grams.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's
that's good.
15, 20. So the next part, shall we slab it out?
Let's slab it out.
Sounds good. All right.
So we're going to slab this now, okay? And so you have these nice metal frames here. They're wrapped.
Exactly. And you can make something like this at home, or you could use a pan you'd use to make brownies and just line it with some plastic wrap.
Yeah.
And then we just smooth it out. And I'll ask you to do the honors to really smooth that surface with the offset spatula.
Yeah, right. Okay, so what you're wanting me to do is something
Perfect.
like this?
You can
start
just
on this
wipe
side.
it all, spread it all the way across like you're doing. That's perfect.
Okay,
Because you want an even surface.
right,
You want the pieces to have the same amount of ganache.
right.
Beautiful.
So now what do we do?
Then you can also really quickly slam down the frame and kind of shake it back and forth, and it usually evens it out a little bit more.
Okay.
And we are good to go. We can let it set for about an hour, cut it and dip it and eat it.
Now we're ready to move this slab over to the cutter. And now, so you're removing all the bars. Okay.
And sometimes they get a little stuck to the parchment. You just have to get underneath there.
Okay.
And voila, it's
Now I'm really interested in figuring out how you're going to get that
onto
over
that.
here.
Sure.
Okay, so that's,
Very easy. You just take a thin, have this kind of equipment, and just
okay.
put the plastic wrap on the back and flip it over while holding on to that
Okay.
sheet. And then you just kind of push down.
Oh,
And that's
look
it.
at that.
And then
That is beautiful.
And that is really the finished ganache. So I'm just going to put it onto the guitar cutter, and this is like a giant egg slicer, but much more expensive
Yeah.
and very convenient. Right, you just kind of line it up with the blade, or with the strings rather.
Now those are really big spaces between those strings.
So we're going to have, so we need to make the final cut, and then we're good to go.
Oh, okay. So we do a second cut.
We
Got
do.
it. Okay.
So we just slide this under very carefully and line it back up. And then we slide this back on the opposite way. And then we also do the same thing we did before, line it up. So it'll split a little bit on the top, but then all we do is just break the pieces together, and we have our standard Kakao truffle that needs to be dipped. and topped.
Perfect. Okay. So now, Jenny, you're going to instruct me on the fine parts of dipping, right? This art of dipping.
It's pretty simple. There is
Yeah.
some technique. So we have the piece of ganache that's cut, and then just slowly dip it in the chocolate, bring it up, shake off some of the excess chocolate, and then you just slowly put it onto the piece of clean parchment and finish
Voila.
the dip.
We've got dips.
And then we top it with a little bit of organic crystallized ginger,
Oh, nice.
and that is the truffle, the big O that we make here at
the
Kakao.
big O truffle.